All right, today we're tackling a giant of the self-help world. You've probably seen it, maybe you've even read it. It's a book that's been on bestseller lists forever and has sparked a ton of conversation, some of it amazing, and some of it, well, pretty critical. We're talking about Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements.
I mean, it's a huge promise, right? The idea that four simple rules, drawn from ancient Toltec wisdom, could totally change your life and give you this personal freedom. That's the big claim. So, the real question is, does it actually work? Or is there a catch?
So let's get into it. First off, you just can't deny the impact of this book. I mean, it came out back in 1997, and it's basically become a cultural touchstone. And it's funny, it's one of those books that people either absolutely swear by, or they are really skeptical of. There's almost no in-between. Okay, so before we can even talk about the agreements themselves, you gotta understand the problem they're supposed to solve. According to Ruiz, we're all, from the moment we're born, put through this process. A process that he says literally robs us of our own personal freedom.
And he has a name for it, domestication. Think about it. As kids, we learn the rules of the world, right? We do things to get a reward, like praise or attention, and we avoid things to dodge punishment, like getting yelled at or being rejected. Ruiz says that over time, we internalize that whole system. It's like we install our own inner judge, whose job is to punish us when we mess up, and an inner victim that carries all that guilt and shame, always feeling like we're just not good enough.
So all that inner conflict, that judge and victim fighting it out, it creates what the Toltecs called the metote. And I love this analogy. Picture a crowded market, where 1,000 different voices are all shouting at once, but nobody's really listening or understanding anyone else. It's just chaos. Ruiz says that's what's going on inside our minds. It's this thick fog of confusing, conflicting ideas that keeps us from seeing things as they really are.
And this is where the four agreements finally come in. They're presented as the antidote to all that chaos. You've got one for how we speak, two for how we deal with other people, and a final one for how we treat ourselves. The whole idea is that, together, they're the key to breaking free from that domestication and clearing out that mental fog, that mitote.
And you know what? For a lot of people, these simple rules are an absolute game changer. They talk about this massive shift in their well-being. Take this student journalist, Emmy Miralieva. She wrote that the book was a huge part of improving her anxiety. She said learning to let go of insults and just focus on the useful feedback, it changed her whole perspective on life.
And you see that same feeling over and over again in countless reviews. I saw one on Goodreads from a reviewer named Michaela, and she called it required reading for the course Life. She said that when you follow these agreements, living just becomes so much easier, so much lighter. And really, that's the promise, isn't it? That's what has made millions of people pick up this book. Okay, but this is where things get really interesting and, frankly, a little complicated. Because for every single person who finds this incredible freedom in the book, there's someone else who reads it and sees a recipe for, well, for selfishness. The criticism is real, and it almost always comes down to the book's intense focus on the self.
And this slide really lays out the two sides of the coin perfectly. Is this book a path to real, authentic personal freedom? Or is it just a permission slip to be selfish, to ignore how your actions affect other people, and to forget you're part of a community, all just so you can find your own inner peace?
And when you go to places like Reddit, oh man, people do not hold back. The criticism gets super blunt. I mean, look at this comment. This user just totally dismisses the whole ancient wisdom thing and calls it, well, narcissistic AF. And trust me, that's a sentiment you see again and again and again.
Let's zoom in on a specific one, because this is where it gets tricky. Take the second agreement. Don't take anything personally. This one causes a lot of debate. Just like this user points out, what if someone is calling you out on something you actually need to work on? What if it's not just their stuff they're projecting, but legitimate, valid feedback? If you just dismiss everything as not about you, how are you ever supposed to grow?
And then you get stories from people's actual lives, like this person who connects the book directly to a friend they see as being totally self-centered. Their worry is that the book gives people like that a philosophical excuse to only think about themselves and to basically ignore their responsibilities to other people.
So what's the deal here? How can the exact same four sentences be a path to enlightenment for one person and a manual for narcissism for another? Well, it seems like the answer might not be in the book itself, but in who's doing the reading.
Here's one theory from a user that I found really interesting. They suggest it's all about timing and readiness.
that for the book to really land, you have to be in a place in your life where you're open to it, where you're actually welcoming the ideas instead of just trying to pick them apart. In other words, maybe what you get out of it depends entirely on what you bring to it.
And check this out. Here's a really great counterpoint to that whole "it's selfish" argument. This user completely reframes it. They say, look, the point isn't to become an island and ignore everyone. The point is to clean up your own inner chaos first, so that you can actually show up for other people in a much better, healthier, and more present way. It's not selfishness, it's self-work for others.
And what's really interesting is that it seems Don Miguel Ruiz himself might have seen this exact tension playing out. Because years after the original book became a phenomenon, he and his son, Jose, came out with a follow-up that added one more absolutely crucial principle.
And there it is, the fifth agreement. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. Wow, this one sentence changes everything, doesn't it? It adds this whole new layer of nuance. It's basically telling you to question everything, yeah, even the other four agreements. It's an invitation to not just blindly follow any rule, but to listen to others, to yourself, and then use your own judgment to figure out what's true for you. So, where do we land on all this? What's the takeaway? I think it's that the four agreements isn't some simple one-size-fits-all prescription. It's more like a mirror. It reflects our deepest desire for peace, but it also reflects the danger of becoming too self-absorbed. Ultimately, its value really seems to depend on you, who you are and what you're looking for. And maybe that's the whole point, right? The real lesson, wrapped up in that fifth agreement, is that the goal isn't just to swallow wisdom whole, but to chew on it, question it, and make it your own.
And that really leaves us with one last huge question, one that goes way beyond this book. In this whole journey of self-improvement and finding our own peace, where is the line? Where does essential self-care cross over into harmful self-absorption? When does working on your inner world turn into just ignoring the world outside? It's the big question that the four agreements, and its controversy, really forces us to ask ourselves. And honestly, it's a question we all have to figure out on our own.